So this is some thoughts on mission work and the hero's journey and apostasy. So leaving your faith, right? Which is what happens when anybody like shifts belief systems. Like if you go from fundamentalist Christian to atheist to agnostic to New Age to, right? If you go through these belief progressions, anytime that you switch, you're becoming you're apostatizing. You're leaving your belief system. Your culture, your community is always going to think that's unwise because it's their belief system and they think it's right. So anything outside of that is going to be delusional. So if you're going to do mission work, right? Mission work is bringing God to people who do not have God. You're bringing truth to people who do not have truth. So that's all the people who advocate for quote unquote like scientific materialism, or people who advocate for certain ways of being, are doing mission work. So that's health influencers, it's gurus, it's people that are saying, I know something that you don't, and because of that I have this illumined understanding and concept of the world. To do that, to actually do that, if you want to bring God to people who are lacking God, like if you're wanting to do that sort of service, I guess, you have to leave the presence of God. You have to leave the presence of truth, because the world is being created inside of you. Perceptually, this is happening in your body and your awareness. And so if you're going to do mission work, if you're going to bring God to where it is not, to people who are not, you cannot be the possessor of God. Otherwise, they already have it. Like if you look at any of your belief systems, be it science or Christianity or anything else, like if you have the truth, like if you truly have the truth, then anybody that you interact with already has the truth, either via quantum entanglement of mind, you share mind, or you share essence, like you share all the truths point to the same thing. And so if you can't do active mission work of bringing the truth to people if you have it, because then it would already be there. And this is according to every belief system that I'm aware of. So to actually do the mission work, you have to let go of the truth, which means you can no longer identify or have your main thing being in that truth or in that church. You actually have to bring God somewhere, you actually have to leave where God is. Like there's multiple ways you can symbolically like look at that happening, but you have to leave. And this is no different than like a child leaving the home, right? Like if a 1-year-old leaves the house, it's like, if they're not with the right person, it's a bad thing. They'll get hurt themselves, or somebody else will hurt them. If you leave the nest and go into the forest as a little baby, you'll get eaten. But then at some point, as you get older, it's like the world exists of truths that are larger than the home, larger than the nest. The boat sails in a water that is larger than itself. And so maturity and adulthood is going out from that. And so if people aren't taught to go out from it, a lot of times if you keep teenagers at home, or if you don't have space for this in your belief system, your youth, which are designed to like go out, like this is instinctual in people, so there's going to be an impulse to go out, to go away from. And so if the truth is said to be the totality of everything that they can't get outside of, then they're gonna break it. And so that's when you get like destructive, rebellious youth or whatever. But in general, new creatures as they develop are going to want to go outside of the various houses and the various containers that they're placed in. So if there's, and then you can see how there's adults, right, that have different orientations or relationships towards their home, like once somebody's in charge of it. So you can have adults that like over shelter their kids or overprotect, or you can have adults that don't protect them at all. There's a lot of different ways that people engage with the truth net, or their faith, the religious stories that they live inside of. These religious stories are fundamentally houses. And then you can leave that house and you can go out into the greater world. Right? So you can still have a home that you go back to, and you go, oh, I live here, I am this person. But you also go, as an adult, you go outside of that house. And so this bickering and stuff, the world's natural, so you just accept it. And so if you find people debating, bickering, arguing about whether to go in and out of the house, they're looking at a lock. They're looking at a door, and they're debating on how to open that door, or if the door should be opened. And it's fundamentally juvenile behavior, and that's fine. I don't mean that in an insulting way. I mean that in the domicile of belief is different based on your soul's maturity level and your age level. And you can have some neurosis where this stuff is not talked about directly, or known about, like bad things can happen to parents, and then you're left with children inside of a home that they don't quite understand. Part of that home is culture, right? Like if something happens to your parents or they fail, you don't understand the full scope of the culture that you've grown up inside of, and that's kind of a home. And so it is just like that. And then once you you have to, if you want to do mission work, right, you're going from home to home, right? You have to look at these belief structures, look at all the different mythologies, and not as true as false, or like whatever. It's that if they don't contain everything, you can go, that's a little home, that's a little shelter, that's a little house. There's Christianity, there's Buddhism, there's science. These are tiny little confining houses. These are mental bodies people have created, and they live inside of them. And we live inside of these homes like in an obligate way, like we have to. It doesn't, it holds the structure of other things together, all these other patterns of life. And so you can look at those and be like, there's the home, and then you can go, is this nature? Nature is the biggest home. The world is the biggest home. The truth, the absolute truth, is like the biggest truth, right? And it's this dome that contains all other truths. Just like the world contains all houses, the absolute truth contains all religions, all faiths, all creeds, and there's only one outside, right? There's only one outside. Unless you go through this like infinite, incomprehensible void, and then you could theoretically say that maybe there's another bubble of this somewhere else, but it doesn't, the way to which everything is entangled means that all the other potential probable bubbles are all happening right here. There's only this world. To the same degree that when you approach another person with truth, like it's only this person. There's only one person here. There's only one world here. And so what's happening at all levels is what you're seeing happen at the level that you can get it. You can see it. All the houses are fractal inside of each other. And so it's exact. All your relationship with houses outside of your house is identical to the relationship that you have with your home, and your home maybe relates with a school, and then the school is like 1,000 homes. then that fractions into different companies. That was a little bit of a tangent, but it's just, I'm trying to say, like, this is like the way that energy interacts with itself is it's all sharing a frequency on some level. So this is an expression of, you know, whatever, everything way over there. There's not any separation. So all the different worlds out there are playing themselves out here, like in the relationship of like the praying mantis and the grasshopper and the you know, the relationship that you have between yourself and like a duck that's like visiting your house, that is reflecting, sharing, expressing the frequency of everything. And so there's just it's all right here, and that's true according to any belief system. And so that's why it's houses within houses within houses within houses, and people can go from right here is the truth, and then they'll create, it'll look like a fractal mandala of houses outside of their houses, inside of their houses. And going between houses is the thing, but it's dangerous. It's going into the nature, it's going into the wild, it's going into the unknown. So it's like if you're at a certain age and you venture outside the nest or you venture outside the home, like almost assuredly you will be eaten by some sort of predatory animal in nature. And that's just how it is. Until slowly over time you get large enough and big enough to comprehend or deal with these things. So things that, like to a baby, a full-grown adult or an animal is incomprehensibly powerful and dangerous. But as you change form into an adult, suddenly, like they're not incomprehensibly powerful. And you may even find yourself more powerful than the things that were most threatening to you as a baby. And all those things were true, including the dangers, the risks, and everything. But like the landscape is ever changing. Everyone is ever growing. But it's all happening under this dome. So there's a single unified sky, air sort of thing. The stars, right? There's a mythology told in the stars, and then that mythology is expressed. So you could say that the house, the most true house, even though all the houses are under the greatest dome, the most true house is the one that reflects the heavens the most accurately. And that would make it the most true belief system, not because it's true, but because that's true. So it's always pointing, always referring up.